I practice modern day shamanism, and I want to talk about this, okay? So, I want to talk about why I started, like, practicing modern day shamanism, why I started calling myself a modern day shaman, why I stopped calling myself a modern day shaman, and why I started calling myself a modern day shaman again. So I got into shamanism, right? By really, I was listening to Terrence McKenna. I would hear him mention the word shamanism, and I kind of knew of it, like just didn't really know anything besides I think that's that Native American thing. And then I started doing research, got into it, and I mean I did so much research on shamanism. It wasn't just research on psychedelics. It wasn't just research on whatever. It was research on shamanism. So I kind of had the idea that shamans are using these tools for a much different reason. That you can see that what happened when certain words got introduced to society, it kind of trapped us in this spell, right? So, like, the word drug has people trapped in a spell because they think something, right? They think something that is probably not what actually is. Because drugs are not actually drugs, they're molecules, but it's complicated. They're not even molecules, right? Because that's not how the shamans looked at it. That's not, they weren't looking at it that way. They were looking at it more like these are our helpers, these are our teachers. And that's why there was helpers and teachers. Some plants are helpers, some plants are teachers. And over like the past 8 years, right? Because I'm 28 now. So I started this shamanic journey when I was 20. What do I mean by that? I mean that I completely left reality, dipped the fuck out. Everyone thought I was crazy, and I probably did go crazy for a little bit. I would smoke DMT all the time, right? I've smoked DMT over 500 times, had over 200 full breakthroughs. I have a video on my Trip Report channel, and it was back when I was actually smoking DMT very often because I've smoked DMT so much, I don't never need to smoke DMT again. Like, ever. I want to eventually once my life is back to where I want. Once my life is where I want it to be, I want to smoke DMT as like a check-in to be like, I fucking did it. I don't know. It's a personal thing with me and DMT, but like that's what shamanism did for me. So many people out there, I see the main issue is one, they're not smoking enough DMT. I can tell because they still use the words like believe or have faith or DMT might be or it could be or like they still use these words that make me think, well, they definitely haven't smoked enough. If you what When you have that one DMT trip, and I mean out of hundreds of DMT trips I've had, I have only had 3 like this, but I'm telling you, when you have that one DMT trip that is even farther than a DMT breakthrough, it will scare you so much that you'll never be able to I don't think you'll ever recover after that because I don't think I ever recovered after that. I am completely traumatized with death and DMT and the afterlife and reality. It got me so caught into this thing of researching death and life and fucking the whole thing. But I got into meditating, right? And technically I was meditating before I got into psychedelics, but I got into practicing meditating even more, like taking it seriously, because I was smoking the DMT, trying to bring out information out of the DMT, but realized that in my mind I wouldn't shut the fuck up, right? As the DMT is hitting me, I'm in my head like, holy shit, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, right? Instead, I started coming up with practices. This is why, so in the beginning I called myself a modern day shaman because I said that I was on the journey to become a modern day shaman. That was the intention. When other people do DMT or do psychedelics, what are their intentions? Like, these things matter. It's not just your intention for the trip. Like, why are you even tripping? Like, if you're tripping just to heal your issues, that's fine, kinda, but like, for another video. But like, for me, I was generally tripping to, and I can't even explain it because I got the random calling. But that's when I started researching into shamanism, and when I learned about the calling that the shamans get, I was like, wow, I had the calling. I didn't even know at the time, but I had this itch this, I was some wannabe thug, right? I was some wannabe thug. Or I had the studio, I rap, and like I don't know. I was not the guy to go trip. That's why when I fucking went down this journey, everyone thought I went fucking nuts. Like I started talking more clearer. Like people thought I went crazy because started talking like more properly. Like it it's some weird shit. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I can see why so many can't pull out the information out of the psychedelics is because they're scared of what it'll do to them. They live in this fake matrix world and they like trick themselves because you don't think, well, maybe DMT is not real, or you don't think, well, with DMT you have to have faith in it. No, it's just like Terrence McKenna said. DMT is not religion. You don't have to have faith in DMT. You just need to have balls to smoke DMT. Like, that's what I'm saying is so many people haven't smoked enough because they probably try to do it alone or whatever. I had this fucking dope ass idea where I had like this 2 liter and a bread bag, and I would fill up the bread bag with like complete DMT smoke, and the bread bag would be so compacted with smoke that the smoke would almost have like a yellowish tannish tint to it, right? And I would just, because I dab and shit and I smoke weed all the time, like I had iron lungs to be able to inhale all that, hold it, and let it completely shatter me and annihilate me into another reality. Other people are smoking little bits of DMT, closing their eyes, seeing the thing, and they can still hear the world out here, and they can still kind of do it, and they're like in the beginning stages of it type shit. Because if a lot of people talk about the jesters in DMT space, or like think like that's all in the beginning of DMT space. Like DMT space is very similar to Earth, where there was multiple places on Earth, and there's multiple places in that realm, and from my person, so that I only know personal experience because I've had about 100 experiences with Hawaiian baby woodrow seeds. I've had hundreds of experiences with LSD, hundreds of experiences with DMT. I've had about 20 experiences with mushrooms. I had about 20 experiences with MDMA. And I've tried about 40 different plants and herbs that most people have never heard of, right? Like a bunch of aporphine alkaloids, right? So many people don't understand what those are, but the aporphine alkaloids are, I wouldn't say similar to the psychedelic molecules, but they have a spiritual, like it's hard to explain. They have like a dissociative, weird, like something to them. But what I'm trying to explain is I understand the plants on a personal level. I have a personal relationship with these tools that have helped me become the best me that I can be, right? Like DMT taught me about death, while LSD reminded me that I'm a musician and I need to get back to making music because that's what the fuck I have always loved to do since I was 11 years old, right? LSD showed me. I'm a musician. I'm an artist. This is who I want to be. It's who I've always wanted to be. It's who I always have been, no matter whether I wanted to be it or not. And like the ayahuasca that I did, that was a whole different thing than DMT, even though ayahuasca contains DMT. It was a whole different teacher, whole different lessons, whole different thing. I gave up my son for adoption, and I have another son that basically was taken from me or whatever. So I have 2 sons in the world that I don't know, and I have my daughter that's in my life. So I have 3 children, and there's only one that's in my life. When I did the ayahuasca, she basically helped me through it. And I say she because it was literally like a feminine entity helped me through it. Now, when humans are sitting here talking about whether psychedelics are real or not, you know what really irritates me the most is we do not question religion that much, but yet you're going to question where religions got their ideas from. Like, basically, many humans that I have never met before, we've all seen the same DMT space. We've all seen the same tryptamine world inside of the mushrooms, inside of ayahuasca, inside of DMT. The people that had the balls to travel deep and taught themselves how to meditate while they're traveling, because meditation next to psychedelics is how you truly gain the information from the psychedelics. It's how you truly see what the fuck they're trying to show you. Because You have to let go of your human shit. Your human shit is like, well, what if this isn't real? And it's all that ego shit. It's your ego trying to grasp on to what's comfortable to it, what it's always known. Now, what our ego has always known for a long time is the only spirituality shit we get on planet Earth is from religion, right? This is what the ego wants. It doesn't want us to see, nah, there's thousands of people who have had these experiences that believe this thing, right? Um, there are thousands of people that believe in religions, right? But religions have an issue where it's somebody else's experience. And what I've loved about shamanism, and this is why I call it modern day shamanism, because modern day shamanism is you can do whatever practices work best for you. Whatever plants work best for you. Whatever psychedelic tool works best for you. It's a personal thing. You can personally customize your experience in this thing. Like, I personally customize my experience to, this is my wax pen, and I put my own wax in here, right? I just vape THC all the time, and that's me consciously saying, well, that's the molecule, that's what I want on a conscious, just everyday thing. There's certain psychedelics and certain tools I use for different reasons. I use lion mane mushroom extract to help, process information better, or I'm always trying to pull in information, and I'm always learning from psychedelics, and I'm always trying to whatever. So things like lion's mane mushroom tend to help me retain information better and tend to help me explain information better. I'm just trying to find the tools and the molecules and the things that help me be the best me that I can be. Whether it's a physical thing, so you find the physical tools, or whether it's psychedelics. But what works for me might not work for somebody else. Because I use kratom every day. But kratom is an addictive opioid. So therefore, it's not for everybody. It benefits me tremendously in my life. Like, it's not just like for me, I always got shit to do. I always have to move. I have albums to make. I got all these things I'm trying to do. I have all this shit. And on top of that, I gotta fucking make money, so I'll end up homeless. And, all this shit I'm trying to do. Where it's things like kratom, simple as coffee, right? Help me so much. Because, they help me with what I'm trying to do. But with modern day shamanism, it's that thing where it's what things would help you with what you're trying to do, right? I used, all these things to help me with my mental health. I used all these things to help me with my spiritual point of view on life, right? With modern day shamanism, what's interesting is we can learn from each other, and that's what we have began to do, right? Shout out to True Life Stories. I always hop over there in True Life Stories when I can and just kind of conversate or whatever. But what Booker has been doing over there for years anyways is modern day shamanism, whether he realized it or not. It's trying to spread the information and then connect together, find similarities, find differences, learn from the differences from each other, from the different trips and experiences we've had, and put the puzzle together, because there's so many people that the main problem is that it reminds me of what Terrence said. They did mushrooms in college once and they think they're initiated. It's not even you could do psychedelics, maybe you do psychedelics twice, 3, 4 times a year. Because there's a lot of people that say, you should do psychedelics only 4 times a year, or maybe 6 times a year, or maybe even, I think the one person said the most is every 2 weeks or whatever is the most you could do it. But with microdosing and all this other things that's happening, humans don't understand. There is no rules. If you're still trying to follow somebody else's rules, you still don't really get it. That it's not about what works for others. It's not about what works for me. It's about what works for you. And the reason why I don't, I can take in information from other people when they're talking about what their religion did for them or does for them, when they talk about what this does for them, the only thing I compare, like when I make music, I just want to make music all the time, like all day long. I just want to make music. Like if I get rich, I don't really want to do anything besides what I already do, which is just make music. Except then I wouldn't have to worry about the bills about it. So then I'd literally just make music. I don't want to travel. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't really want cars or houses. I don't care. I just want to make music. But other people, they don't feel that way, right? Like, I understand that they don't feel that way. I make music, I can make music 8 to 12 hours a day, every day, for the rest of my life. And I'll never lose inspiration. I'll never lose motivation. I'll never whatever because I always want to make music. My problem is that because life, I have to worry about the bills. I got to worry about other shit. And I'm trying to relaunch my business and I'm trying to do all this. Like, there's so much I'm doing that it's like this. The only reason I got into all this stuff I'm doing is I found myself by walking the path of shamanism. That is why I'm literally trying to sit here and talk about modern day shamanism. Because it is the path that helped me find the greatest version of myself. Like, without it, I don't think that I would have healed my mental health the way I did. Because there was a post I seen a long time ago, and it was a fucking quote from some shaman or whatever, but it said shaman something. But like, it was basically saying that shamans don't believe in mental disorders. Like, and I was like, yeah, I feel that. Like, because it's not, they wouldn't have thought about it in that aspect. Like, this is where we're losing touch with reality because we're getting lost inside of the matrix or this fake reality of the city life and this idea of the Western world. And this whole idea is brainwashing us and it's forcing us to only think in the Western way. So I'm giving people information that damn sure is not from the Western way. And it's just from the psychedelic way, but it's really in the psychedelics themselves. They contain information. Molecules contain information, but this is not some fucking off the wall, really out there idea. Your DNA is a string of molecules, and nobody fucking argues with me when we say DNA contains information. So why do people argue with me when I say DMT contains information? Like, it's the same thing. But DMT contains a lineage of so much information that it's ridiculous that you can't grasp it all. That's why you have to pull out pieces at a time. But I only know this from personal experience. It's never when I'm sitting here like I've smoked DMT 500 times. It's just you'll never know how to fucking handle it until your 300th time. Like, you'll never know how to look at it until your fucking I don't know, at least your 50th time. Like, for like all jokes aside, like, you'll never be able to sit there and look at it for real because you're just getting flashes of a small little whatever the fuck. So, as you're getting flashes of this small little whatever the fuck, you just gotta put the pieces together. And you can put the pieces together by also analyzing everybody else who has also done the same thing, realizing that, holy fuck, he's seen the same thing I seen, and I haven't even talked about that in a trip report yet. Like, or, holy fuck, they experience, like, if you literally look for it, you'll find it. But the problem is, people aren't looking because they're scared. People are so scared of the truth, and I am too. Don't get me wrong. I talk about what I've gone through because I've gone through it, but if it was somebody else talking about it, I'd be a little freaked the fuck out. Like, especially if I believed it. But, I mean, shit, if he believed it, that'd freak me out too. That's why I could see why people, kind of get weary of the psychedelic knowledge. They would rather believe that there was some man in the sky dictating and making rules and made a book and all this other stuff than believe that they can take a molecule that can backtrack them through their own DNA, through the entire DNA of the human species and the whole, fucking DNA of the universe and reality itself. And then they can look from a different perspective. But they don't believe that. But it's not something that you need to believe. It's something that you need to achieve. It's something that you can do. You can smoke DMT, just like I did. Like, I do not recommend people smoke DMT like I did. Like, for real though. Because there was a time where I was in a psychosis for like a month or so, right? where I was like literally, like I said this in a video once, and like people thought I was joking, but I'm being so fucking serious. I don't know how I wiped my own ass for that fucking month of being in a psychosis. I did DMT so much that like I couldn't figure out if I was on DMT or not. Like it was a weird fucking month. Because I had a job, bro. I don't know how I kept the job. Or maybe I didn't keep the job. I don't know. I was fired from that job like 3 times. But like, um, I don't know. I've done some things with psychedelics that most people would say you should never do. I've done things with psychedelics that people would consider abuse. But those perspectives are coming from the 3D world, the Western world, a world that is not shamanism, a world that doesn't understand shamanism. So of course they're gonna think that the dude that did DMT every day, oh he's doing it too much, or the guy that does acid all the time, oh he's doing it too much, oh you're doing it too much, you're doing it wrong, or maybe they're not real, or maybe it's not this, and the fucking Mr. Smith effect. Like I don't know if you know what the Mr. Smith effect is, but it's this idea that because the Matrix had the dude Mr. Smith or whatever, and he was kind of designed to like defend the Matrix. Mr. Smith will come out of everybody when you start to fucking figure out ways to break the Matrix. Mr. Smith is gonna come out of everybody and say, DMT is just a drug, right? DNA is just a string of drugs, right? Like everything is, bro. Like you can't. We're in such denial of reality that we're backtracking. We're running around in fucking circles. Where it's like, let's just look at the fucking DMT. Come on, like, let's just look at the psychedelics. And not for fucking therapy. Yeah, they're gonna help with therapy. But it's not gonna help with therapy for the same reason why people think. It's not gonna heal depression and anxiety for the same reason why people think. Because it only healed my anxiety and depression. It's because there was nothing more traumatizing than the DMT experiences I've gone through. Like, you can't do anything to me that is worse than that. You can't. And that's where some of the DMT experiences I've had, it's not... People talk about DMT like it's a beautiful thing, and it is. The beginning stages go past the point of humanity. It's not fun after that. You lose your humanity. So therefore you lose your fucking mind. Or in the concept of the Western world, of the human world, of you lose your mind. But you never... Your mind is actually in a box right now because it's in a human body. And the human body is filtered, meaning all the molecules that you have running through you right now are like filters because they produce certain experiences and they produce a certain perspective and a certain thing. And that certain thing we call the human experience. But as you start altering those molecules, you can change the experience you're in. So you can go from the human experience to the death experience. Or what humans considered the death experience, because people they're looking at it from a religious point of view, and I'm looking at it from a shamanic point of view. Like, the reason why the psychedelics are hard for them to grasp because they're still looking at it like from a religious point of view, of like they need to believe in it or they need to have faith in it. Do you need to have faith that you're watching this video? You don't have to believe in me. I'm right the fuck here, bro. Like, but maybe you believe what I say, or maybe you don't. That's fine, either way. Because I only know my own experience. You only know your experience. But humans for thousands of years have been okay with following blindly, no disrespect to any religion, but following blindly a book. But when, like, I don't know, ayahuasca is getting popular, psychedelics are getting popular, mushrooms are getting popular, DMT is getting popular, 5-MeO DMT is getting popular, Hawaiian baby woodrose seeds getting popular. Like, a lot of these spiritual tools are getting popular now, and people are starting to gain information and just go for themselves, because this is not something where you need faith. You can take the shamanic journey yourself. It's, if you get the calling, follow it. And so many people got the calling and then they turned around. I seen that. And then they get bitter and like angry of some sort or something. Because, you can easily just go down the journey. You know how there's so many people 8 years ago, when I started my psychedelic journey, I was watching a bunch of psychedelic YouTubers. No disrespect to psychedelic YouTubers, right? But it's just a lot of the psychedelic YouTubers are exactly the same that they were when I first started watching them. Exactly the same. I'm a completely different human being because I started looking at it like a journey. I didn't look at my life. I don't give a fuck about. I wasn't trying to become the biggest psychedelic YouTuber. I wasn't trying to get rich with this. Yes, the money will come if it's meant to be. Yes, the fame will come if it's meant to be. Yes, that shit will come. But never think about it. Just live your life. And at the moments that I've been living my life, it has just been me living my life. I was just at the time when I was smoking DMT all the time, that was my life. That was all I did, and that was it. It's just crazy as I had a girlfriend, I had my daughter, like we all lived in the same house. Like I still had the family type shit, and DMT played a part in why I left because I'm the one that broke up with the girl. But that was because after doing DMT, I started realizing, like I started following this thing. The same calling that called me towards using and trying DMT and traveling with it is the same calling that's got like that I began to follow with everything. And I think that is intuition. I think that is the knowing of we all know what we were supposed to do. It is we got distracted and we followed everybody else. Somebody pointed that way and we went that way. I don't give a fuck how many people point that way. Does it feel like I should go that way? Does that feel like me? No. So I'm going this way. And that's the thing with shamanism is it's like with every shaman on the planet, they're all different. They all have their own different unique thing because they all had a different journey. They all became a shaman for a different reason. They all whatever, but in the end, they all became this thing that knows how to maneuver in the psychedelic world, knows how to maneuver with these plants, how to use these plants to heal themselves, so then therefore they can use the plants to heal others. Because I can now say I'm a modern day shaman because I healed myself completely. Like I healed myself. And like I'm so proud of myself for that because I know what I've had to go through. I know how I felt. I know what I thought. So to have my mind in my control now, to have my spirituality in my control now, where it's like I don't need to believe the same thing that the shamans did hundreds of years ago. I believe what I've experienced. And I've experienced a lot. So like I believe a lot. I believe a lot of crazy shit. I know. I say it all on my fucking YouTube channel. I know. I say it because I've experienced it. If I talk about reptilians or aliens or something, it's because I've experienced it. And it was through, yes, DMT, which is through a different way that most people experience these things. Most people experience aliens like a typical abduction thing. I just smoked a lot of DMT, and every single DMT trip was a different experience. There wasn't one DMT trip that was the same as the next. That is why it is very important to, if you're going to dive with DMT, dive with DMT. Because so many people are trying to judge DMT based off of the 20 experiences that they had, but those 20 experiences they had, out of those 20, how many of them were breakthroughs? How many of them were farther than a breakthrough? How many of them were done when they had a silenced mind after meditating for a little while? How many of it was done after, or how much of it was done while they were in a bad state where they couldn't mentally stop and be quiet, where they couldn't pay attention, where they couldn't, like, that's why Terrence talked about paying attention. Because that's why I talk about trying to silence your mind. Because if not, you're not going to be able to hear what the thing is trying to say. Sometimes in DMT, you'll meet entities, or you can see, like, I met this female entity many times, and I gained this weird relationship with this female entity. I don't know if it's the consciousness of the planet. I don't know if it's Mother Ayahuasca. I don't know if it's my fucking grandmother. But all I know is it's a female entity that seems to have my back, right? That seems to love me and that seems to care. And it's not human. It's an entity. Maybe it was human at one point. I don't know. But there is still a lot you won't know. But there is a lot that you will know. Because once you start going down the journey, once you start going down the rabbit hole, there is no going back though. So like, just warning you on that. Once you go down the rabbit hole, there is no coming back. With psychedelics, there's a point of no return. And I think so many people hit that point of no return and then turn around, and that's why they still can sit there and say, well, maybe it's not real, or, maybe, or some shit like that, where it's like, oh, I just don't believe it. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't believe it? You don't believe, like, that's like waking up in the morning and saying, I'm a human being? I just don't believe it. Like, it's that thing. Because when you've had DMT experiences, when you are so not here and you live an entire lifetime, because I can't even explain it, bro, but living entire lifetimes as a light being, forgetting my name as this being, but still being me, but in a different being, like a different reality, a whole different fucking dimension. And I had children, I don't fucking know, but all I know is experiences like that, which took me completely out of this, it removed the word, I believe it or not. It removed that, because that don't have nothing to do with belief. I came back crying, bawling my eyes out, screaming and crying, and fucking couldn't breathe, because I was like, I couldn't even feel, like, I was like, what is a face type shit. I was crying because I had this, and I wasn't just what I was, like, it was fucking mind-blowing, bro. Like, DMT trips like that, I cannot explain, but those type of trips are rare. But, like, those DMT trips are the ones that, like, totally blew my fucking mind the most. Like, more than seeing vortexes or colors or this or that, is when you go through the vortex, past the vortex, and you drop off somewhere, and you're in this fucking place. And, like, somehow there's things in the place, too. Like, if you go to Japan, you're gonna find that there's humans already living there. It's that thing, that shit is so real. But, like, you'll never know until you go. And the reason why people never know is because they never go. They don't smoke enough. People don't smoke enough DMT. They don't drink enough ayahuasca. They don't take enough mushrooms. They don't take enough LSD. Like, people do not take enough at one time and know how to sit down, put a blindfold on, and close their eyes and just see what happens. They want to fight it and try to do human things, and, like, that's great if that's your intention with your trip. But if you want to learn something about the psychedelics, some deep shit about the psychedelics, then sit down with them. Put a blindfold on. Take a higher dose. Double your dose. Fucking, like, I'm being so serious. Double your dose next time. Fucking, because it's those, or sometimes some people are taking such little amounts that they need to quadruple their dose. But, like, regardless, have a spiritual experience, not just a psychedelic experience. And the only way you do that is by literally having the intention to take it shamanically. And yeah, I would recommend for people who are new to this, have a trip sitter, right? I did not, but that does not mean that you do not, right? Never do what I do. Just learn from what I've gone through, because it may be able to help you on your journey.